Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. Welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It's me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am every Wednesday to talk the past 24 hours from the wild, wacky, colorful world of professional wrestling. It's our good friend, comedian, Brian Wohl. B-Wo, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Great to be here. I hope you guys had a great holiday. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited about tonight. We have AEW, we have the Undisputed Era taking on the Best Friends. I know they don't call them Undisputed Era, but like who would have thought of that? Like even just 6 months ago, even 3 months ago.
What do they call themselves? I mean, like, are they going to just be undisputed? Can they do that? Right? Are they just the era? Right? I don't know.
I mean, they could. I think Undisputed is pretty awesome. I'd be down for that.
Hey, 2.0 is taken. Maybe they could be 3.0, you know?
I hope they get the wacky colors too. I hear that's big with the youth right now.
So we got some news to get to here for the past 24 hours. Big news to talk about. Later on, we're going to dive into the mailbag. We're going to look at which female pro wrestler you thought had the best 2021. The chat room is open. We, like Mike M here saying, big Toni Storm news. We're going to get to that here in just a second. Gerard, good evening, Wrestling Inc. It's afternoon here. Could be evening where you're at. That's great. Enjoy it. You know, look, a lot of comments coming in. Jump in the comment section. Maybe you get pulled up onto on the screen here as we go along. Before we get to all the Toni Storm news and everything else, a little bit some shout outs and housekeeping I want to do up top. First of all, and this is likely, like, I mean, it is news. I know it's trafficked a lot of traffic. It is big news. It has implications, but we don't know everything going on right now. So for the time being, just want to send our best to Bruce Pritchard, the Observer, saying he is dealing with some kind of health issue. No word yet. Apparently got sick a few weeks ago. It sounds like he's taped up to this point with Conrad. So not really sure what's going on with Bruce right now, but he's always been a great friend to us here at the show, and he's always been cool to me personally, and has really jumped in and thrived, I think, more than anybody could have ever expected in the past 2 years getting back into the fold at WWE.
Yeah, I mean, when they brought Bruce in, that was also around the time that they brought Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman into creative roles, and the only one who's still there is Bruce.
Well, Bruce was, a shark for Vince for many, many years, until, of course, they infamously parted, and I wish somebody would do a podcast about it. I think that, like a lot of people that leave WWE, after being there for a while, they clear their heads. And like you look at a Drew McIntyre, even a Jeff Hardy, who unfortunately just got released. But other guys, they go out, clear their heads, they come back, and they're better in that environment. And Bruce definitely did that, and absolutely want to send our best out here to Bruce to start the show, So also want to send our best out to Don West, infamous pitchman for TNA Impact Wrestling. He's back in the hospital battling cancer for the second time. Jeff Jarrett broke that news yesterday. So sending our best to Don. And some good news here. Jim Ross, congratulations. He tweeted out not too long ago, just a few hours ago, that he has officially beat cancer. He is cancer-free. He's going to be at Dynamite tonight. Excellent. Rough news here to start, but some great news there to kind of finish about Jim Ross.
I'm excited to see JR back on TV tonight. I've missed his voice. Jim Ross is the best announcer in wrestling. I love Jim Ross.
Yeah, 100%. Leo Perina here. Good news. Jim Ross, cancer-free. John, JR returns tonight. Even Mike jumping in saying great news with JR. Yeah, absolutely. So feel free to, again, leave nice comments about Jim. If you want in the comments section, engage that. Maybe bring up the screen, whatever. All right. As for today, the Wrestling Inc. Daily, if you're listening to us in audio form, remember, you can catch us, the Wrestling Inc. Daily, live records at 5 p.m. Eastern on all of Wrestling Inc.'s social platforms, including YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, wherever else, right? You can find us if you want to watch us live and not over on a podcast after the fact. But if you are listening to us on the podcast form, or even if you're not, head over to the Wrestling Inc. Daily iTunes page. You can leave a nice comment, nice review. We're closing out the year. We want to jack up the metrics, so we futz with Chartable and go way higher. So you could do those things if you want to support the show. All right. Anything else you feel I should mention here before we get to the news of the day, BWO?
I think the news of the day pretty much covers what's going on right now, man.
All right, let's do it. Cowbell, time for news you can use. News that'll leave a bruise. And wow, this one came out of left field. Still feeling it in the jaw here. I got bruised so hard from this news that caught me off guard. Yes, Fightful here about an hour ago. Breaking the news that WWE has released Toni Storm. Sources in WWE, according to Fightful, believe Storm asked for her release, and there was a memo put out to all the talent, letting them know that Toni had been released, which is very common, but it did not say that it was because of budget reasons, which is what others have said in the past. That was not listed as a reason. So what's your reaction here, Brian?
I mean, shocking. It's shocking. She just worked a match last night, doing a live event. I think she was in a triple threat for the women's title with Sasha and Charlotte. So shocking. I thought she had a great match with Charlotte last week on SmackDown. I was looking forward to Toni being built as a future star of WWE, but it is clear that she felt that they didn't have plans for her, and she did not feel comfortable there. And it seems, I believe Fightful reported that she requested her release.
She did, yes.
And she gave an interview about a week ago saying that she really did a lot of introspective work throughout the pandemic, getting to know who the real Toni is and what she wants out of life and what she believes in. And also after hearing Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux's interview with Renee Paquette, it really seems that some talent that has been brought up from NXT can see when the writing is on the wall, and WWE does not have creative plans for them. And they clearly are not building new babyface stars. I feel like that's like the biggest thing that WWE is having trouble with, is building babyface stars. And Toni, to me, is an ultimate babyface. I feel like she will be a babyface in the next place that she goes. I know they've tried her as a heel, but I feel that she is ultimately most successful as a babyface. And she can see that all she's doing is getting humiliated, thrown cake on her by Charlotte, just all this goofy stuff that it doesn't seem resonated with her internally.
Yeah. Well, I'll throw this out here too from Daniel. You know, Storm probably had something personal going on, needed to go. They said that's okay, and that's that, which is entirely plausible as well. It could have something outside of the realm of other stories we've been hearing about now. But yeah, dude, you bring up the pie incident, you know, and like you hear about those frustrations. It's hard not to think about that, you know, kind of in this moment. It's hard not to think about a lot of things and kind of let your mind wander and speculate about what could have been going on here. We'll find out more as it goes along. Very, very surprising. It would be a huge get wherever she goes. You know, what's on your mind here?
She's 26, right? She's very young. So I don't see why there's a possibility she could totally go away, like you were mentioning, with Drew McIntyre or even Bruce Pritchard. She could take some time away from the company, do something else, develop her brand to where when she comes back in, then she could get the booking that she would prefer.
Well, and it's interesting to me that WWE even released her of her own volition and confirmed that to Fightful because they don't do that often. And it's very difficult a lot of times to get out of a WWE contract. I wonder if there's something maybe that she was unhappy about that they just didn't want to deal with. You know, let your mind run wild, I guess. That's a very open-ended statement I just said there. But it could be some kind of factor like that. And it could be, you know, the other thing that I'm thinking about why she would have asked to be given her release is, you know, like you say, it doesn't seem like they have a real good plan for her. Like she's there. Maybe, you know, asking for her release right now, you got a guy like Nick Khan going, you know, yeah, sure. Why not? You know, like we obviously don't know what to do with you anyway. Why are we paying you? If you want out, maybe now is a good time if you're an underutilized talent in WWE to get out. If you want out, maybe they're very open to that idea right now.
Bruce, to reference Bruce Pritchard again, he's said multiple times on his podcast, Something to Wrestle With, that Vince doesn't like to have people around if they are unhappy being there. And I know it has been difficult to get out of contracts in the past, but maybe Vince is a-okay with letting people walk. If they're not happy, don't be here.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, if you want out, like maybe this is a signal here that this is a good time to try to get out. You know, Tony Khan, amongst the 6 or 7 interviews he's done in the past 48 hours, forget which one it is. I'm probably gonna say the wrong one, so I won't cite any of them. They're all over at Wrestling Inc. But he noted, actually, I think it was TV Insider. I think it was with Fishman. He said that AEW is going to be more judicious in 2022 about who they're hiring. He admitted, yeah, we brought in a ton of big talent here 2021. We're going to be more selective here in 2022 about who we're bringing in. If that's the vibe, and WWE knows, hey, it's not a guarantee that if we let you go, you're going to wind up at our competition and make some big splash. Again, maybe the time is right. If you're a talent and you're on the brink, you don't want to be there. Maybe there's an opportunity for the moment to get out if you really do want that.
Oh, 100%. And I don't know if you saw on Twitter, one of the subjects of our mailbag question today, Britt Baker, tweeted out a photo of Toni Storm. So Britt's interested in Toni Storm, and I feel like Britt would be a great heel for Toni to play off of.
Yeah, and I forget who it was here. Let me see if I can scroll up and find it real fast. Oh, it was Brian 1417. Juice being in New Japan. Yeah, she just got married to Juice Robinson.
That's
right.
true.
You know, like maybe she just wants some time away to be with her husband. Juice is not on the loose right now, so to speak. He's kind of picking and choosing his spots at the moment. So a lot of things in play here. Bottom line, very, very talented, very, very young, huge get wherever she goes, and we'll find out more as we go along. You know, I'm going to skip here a little bit because while we're talking about not really knowing what to do with talent, let's bring up the other fight for here. So WWE had no significant plans in place for Veer Mahan when they began airing the vignettes for his official Raw re-debut back in October. Now, there's no word on if WWE officials have decided on a creative direction for Veer since then. WWE sources are self-aware of the comedic nature behind stretching the re-debut out for this long. There is a feeling within WWE that Veer has had the most upside of Shanky or Gurjar, who Veer teamed with in NXT. And of course, he was with Jinder for a little bit and then broke off there for no reason. So anyway, what do you make of like you say, very, very little planning as you're bringing a new talent up to the main roster?
It's concerning, I would say. Nobody wants to have a bit made out of when they're going to debut. And it presents a tremendous contrast because WWE had that thing that they aired that said "Send Veer." That was clearly a reference to Hook on AEW, who has had a very tremendously successful debut.
Successful debut. I think that the no sell of that pile driver spot for Bear Bronson, there were some detractors. I watched it, wasn't personally a fan, but in the arena, hard to argue. The chants were there, and the audience live was not affected by that no sell spot.
Oh yeah, and I've seen the debate about the no sell spot. Taz used to no sell pile drivers because he's got the super strong neck. There's all these different things you could say about it, and we'll see what happens in match number 3 for Hook. But Veer, unlike Toni Storm, has been booked a lot on television. Unfortunately, not on Raw so much, but he has been booked on Main Event. He has wins over like John Morrison. He has wins over Jeff Hardy. He was put over on a lot of guys. His last loss was on October 25th Main Event to Jackson Riker. But but he's had all wins right around that, and so I feel like WWE has some plans for Veer. They do enjoy Veer because they're booking him to win, but outside of that, creatively, what a mess.
Right. I think they're looking for the right moment that they're going to need to call in their big player here. Look, Issa saying fear Veer, right? And I'm not going to lie. Look, a lot of responses. Brian, send Veer Hook, right? Mike M, send Veer. Dio fan, Veer, right? Toronto 888, Hook has come. Veer is about to come, right? Leo Perry. So Veer finally coming? Yes. Let's see. We have here we go. Daniel Price, Team Veer. Team Veer up with Reigns. Call it Fear the Veer Spear. Book it. Wow. Daniel, that was quite good. Look, yes. And this is the thing is like, this is the kind of stuff that makes me feel old, Brian, because like, is this the way? Is this like what the Gen Zers want? They want some kind of novelty that's like, we've seen and done everything. Like, we're just do something, keep my attention. Like, now this has become like a little meme, the Veer, send Veer stuff. I don't know, man. Like, it's Glacier, but 25 years later, and is getting a very similar reaction, I feel like.
Hey, man, if Glacier debuted now, I think Glacier would get over. But it's really hard to generate a meme character on purpose. That is so hard to do.
But it feels like that's what they're trying to. They tweeted send Veer, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Rob Humphrey here, Hausman Fears Hook. Yeah, who doesn't, right? Doom Tribe T booking him to win. Where's the evidence to support that? He just listed all his facts. You just read off Cage Match or whatever.
I did. They're all on main event. I'm sorry they're not wins on Raw. I did note that they are not on Raw. They were on main event. So if you have Peacock, you can enjoy it.
There you go. Well, Mike M closing out the Veer talk. He's obviously with Elias somewhere in the desert. So,
oh man, Elias, that's another one, dude. Do you remember how over Elias was?
Yes.
Can you believe that?
Yes, I think we all remember how everybody wants to walk with Elias, right? And then everybody would play a song, or we would hold the lights up. It's great,
man.
All right. Gruss here, by the way, saying Emelina, more like Viralina, right?
Oh, yeah. That's another one. Wow.
Going deep cuts here. All right. Lastly here, before we get to the mailbag, we're going to look at which female pro wrestler you thought had the best 2021. Let's talk about somebody who might have a great 2022. Our good friend Sean X-Pac Waltman was on the bump earlier today. He confirmed that his surgeon has cleared him to return to in-ring action starting at the top of 2022. WWE leaning into it, asking which superstars won a match with X-Pac. Ricochet said he wants a match with X-Pac. Not surprising. Couple cruiserweights. But Corey Graves also raised his hand and said, I'd like a match with X-Pac. And wouldn't it be really something? Waltman comes back after injury. Graves comes back after injury. I love the story. I don't know how it would look in the ring, but God bless you, Corey Graves, for taking your shot. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, Sean Waltman is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He has one of my favorite matches of all time, his match with Bret Hart on Raw. Oh my gosh. Like, we're what, like 30 days away from the Royal Rumble?
Yeah.
I mean,
be a great time to
put Waltman in the Royal Rumble, right?
Well, and when we were doing the podcast, Sean had mentioned how the Rumble could be very appealing for him. I think he'd be a great surprise entrant there. And by the way, I'll be there January 29th. I'm going to be at the Rumble doing live coverage for Wrestling Inc. But I'd really kind of like to see him, in NXT for a little while. Shawn Michaels is running the show down there at the moment. Hunter is kind of in the wings. It would be great to see that kind of group work together with some of the young talent. Hunter and Shawn not really able to go in the ring. Maybe Waltman could be the one to kind of zhuzh up, Joe Gacy or whatever it may be, So it's a thought.
Man, I'd love to see Joe Gacy and Waltman wrestle. Gacy is great in the ring.
Yeah, it would be really good. I think it'd be great. And I mean, as far as the main roster goes, I mean, AJ Styles, right? Ricochet, it goes on and on. That Damian Priest would be a banger match. So a lot of great ones there for him.
Yeah, and Damian Priest is somebody that they are actually kind of successfully building. I didn't love his last match on Raw, but I feel like Priest has had a pretty steady upward trend.
Yeah. Well, Brian here, baseline hits. It's time for X-Pac. Gruss, 6 for the Rumble, right? And then again saying one more match for 6. And Doom Tribe T saying X-Pac getting a Sting like final run in WWE would be great. Was Sting was that a great run, Doom Tribe?
I think he's trying to reference Sting's current run in AEW and maybe hoping that WWE would learn from that. But man, I don't know if they learned there.
Well, and ravishing Ricky Ramone saying X-Pac versus Sami Zayn.
Oh,
They fought in Chikara. Sean has often talked about how it's like one of his favorite matches of all time, and I know Sammy is down to run it back. So I don't take it off the table. I think we could definitely see a Waltman Sami Zayn match in 2022.
it would be so different than that one too, with Sammy's
Oh,
new character. He's like a completely different wrestler right now.
all right, Brian. Well, I want to thank you for joining me at Top Show Talk, all the news of the day. Thank you to everybody who tuned in here today and jumped into our comment section. We are not done yet. We got a little bit more to go here. So let's do it at Wink Daily. That's the place to go if you want to vote in our daily poll to be a part of the Wink Daily Mailbag. Today's poll question is our latest Winkley End of the Year award. We're going to find out which female pro wrestler you all thought had the best 2021. Britt Baker, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, or somebody else. About 400 votes here in the last hour. 60.5% say Dr. Britt Baker had the best 2021 of all of the women in pro wrestling. Second place, 30.5 to Bianca Belair. Only 3.4 for Charlotte and 5.6 for literally everybody else. So a bit of a blowaway here, 2-1. Do you think you think this is the case? 2021. This was Britt Baker's year.
Man, if we asked this question right before SummerSlam, the results would have been very different. I think people would have said Bianca Belair right before SummerSlam. But after that awful, awful SummerSlam and everything that's happened since, I think Britt Baker is undeniable. And she also made herself undeniable this year. You know, she was not really in the conversation to be one of the pillars of the future of AEW. They liked her. They liked her a lot. But now she is undeniably one of the biggest stars in AEW and now all of wrestling.
Yeah, I agree. The consistency, right? It's the fact that she's been so consistent all year on top. Match quality wise, I think, of course, there was the lights out match that was this year, right? That was early this year. Her and Thunder Rosa, was it? Banger, right? Bianca Belair also had some great matches as well. But yeah, consistency, I think, goes to Britt Baker. Bianca, I agree, bungled. I put Charlotte Flair in here just because, like, I don't know, outside of Britt, is there a more complex character right now in pro wrestling when it goes to females? Charlotte Flair, I get big CM Punk vibes off her at the moment. Just kind of an unpredictability and unease there when I see her on screen.
I mean, Charlotte Flair is real. When Charlotte Flair enters your television screen or enters the arena, it feels different. It feels different. Her matches feel different. And, you know, whatever she does in her personal life, that always breaks news. Who breaks more news than Charlotte Flair right now? She is one of the biggest stars in wrestling.
Yeah, I agree. And we have where was it? Oh, Toronto 8888888 saying it was technically Becky's year, and this was the only real write-in we got for Becky. I thought about listing her, but she was gone most of the year, right? Out with the baby, came back, kind of stutter step there with the heel turn, to say the least. Very awkward program with Charlotte Flair. And now we're finally kind of getting it back on the tracks here to close 2022 or 2021 with Liv Morgan. I don't know that I would say this was Becky's best year. I don't think this was her year. I don't think it was her best year.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't Becky's best year, but she's still, you know, performing at a very high level, doing great things, and we'll see what happens in 2022. Maybe this program with Liv Morgan extends into 2022, and we'll see more coming out of Becky. And you know, who knows? Maybe Ronda Rousey comes back. You never know.
Well, I'll close here by saying Gruss512 pointing out 2022 will be Bayley's year. God, I miss Bayley so much. Yeah. I think about it sometimes. I'm like, God, she was so good. Really hitting her stride, you know?
Yeah. But Bayley's going to come back and she's going to be fantastic. And I'm excited to see what happens. I feel like she's got to come back as a heel. But look at how crowded the heel picture is right now. We've got Charlotte, we got Becky, we've got Shotzi, we've got
I'm not sold on Shotzi as a heel quite yet. Very weird to me that she's a heel right now after being like the beloved centerpiece of NXT for so long.
Hey, I'm not saying she should be a heel. I'm saying that she is. That's who's there right now. It's very crowded. So something's got to move to make space for Bayley, because I don't feel like Bayley should be a face again for a while. She's really just killing it as a heel.
All right. Well, that's going to bring us to the show here today. I want to once again thank B. Wohl for joining me. Thank you all for tuning in and joining us in the comments section. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to be joined once again by Paul Pratt, a.k.a. Polio Del Mar. If you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, sportwrestlinginc.com or on all your socials. Come back here tonight, same place, but after AEW Dynamite to watch the Wrestling Inc. podcast. That's on all the platforms as well, just like the Daily. And, of course, this weekend, we're going to have another Wrestling Inc. podcast after WWE Day 1, but we're going to have full coverage of Day 1, of course, Friday into Saturday as well. I know there's like a SmackDown best of this Friday night, so we're going to pump out a lot more like post content than usual. We're going to keep the site very active on Friday night as we lead into Day 1, of course, on Saturday. Brian, anything you want to plug, promote, put over here before we wrap up the show today?
Just stay safe, guys. That COVID has been raging through Los Angeles. I don't know how it is in your towns, but try and stay safe. Yeah. Want to have a good, healthy 2022.
Absolutely. And I am at Nick_Hausman over on Twitter. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.